like Uma ma'am, Janaki ma'am,
Yeah,
and also our grandparents.
absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
ലേഖ തേർഡ് ഇയറിലെ കുറച്ച് കുട്ടികൾ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. സാദിയ.
Acha, Sadia is here. Okay, okay. How are you, Sadia?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. So what's the plan? Now your exams are going on.
No, ma'am. Exam dates are not yet announced.
Okay. So prepare ചെയ്യുവാണോ ഇപ്പോ?
ഇപ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് S5 പോർഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ എല്ലാ സബ്ജക്ട്സും ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് കഴിയുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ S6 ഉടനെ തുടങ്ങുമെന്ന് പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. S5ന്റെ എക്സാം പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല, എപ്പോഴാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല.
ഇന്ന് S5ന്റെ ഇന്റേണൽ എക്സാം ഉണ്ട് ഇതിന്റെ ഇടയ്ക്ക്.
ഇന്റേണൽ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും നമ്മുടെ പണ്ടത്തെ റിസർച്ച് പ്രസന്റേഷൻ ഒക്കെയാണോ?
അല്ല അല്ല, എക്സാമിനേഷൻ ടെസ്റ്റ് പേപ്പർ.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ കുട്ടികൾ അത് എങ്ങനെയാ ഇപ്പൊ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ഓൺലൈനില്?
ഓൺലൈൻ അവര് വീട്ടിലിരുന്ന് എഴുതുക, ഗൂഗിൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂമിലേക്ക് അയച്ചു കൊടുക്കുക, ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ തന്നെയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അല്ലാതെ നമുക്ക് വേറൊരു വഴിയില്ലല്ലോ.
ഗൂഗിൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂം അതെനിക്കറിയില്ലായിരുന്നു. ബിക്കോസ് വാട്ട് മൈ സൺ ഡസ് ഇസ് അവൻ എഴുതിയിട്ട് ഫോട്ടോ എടുത്ത് ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ടീച്ചറിന് ജിമെയിലിൽ അയച്ചു കൊടുക്കാം. That's a way, but this Google Classroom is better, I think.
ഗൂഗിൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂം ആണ് നല്ലത്. അത് കൃത്യമാണ്, ടീച്ചേഴ്സിന് നോക്കാനും എളുപ്പമുണ്ട്. എല്ലാവർക്കും മെയിലിലൊക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ ഭയങ്കര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടല്ലേ. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പിന്നെ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് മെയിലൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും. എന്നാൽ തന്നെയും അതിനേക്കാൾ നല്ലത് ഇതാണ്
ഗൂഗിൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂം. ഓക്കെ.
ഗൂഗിൾ ക്ലാസ് റൂം. പിന്നെ ചില പിന്നെ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റീസിലും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കോളേജസിലും ഒക്കെ ക്യാമറയൊക്കെ വെക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. നിർബന്ധമാണെന്ന് നമ്മളിതൊന്നും വിശ്വസിച്ച് അങ്ങ് നടത്തുക. ഞാൻ ഈ പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ ഈ പ്രായത്തിലൊക്കെ കയറി അത്രയും നമ്മൾ ഇതാവേണ്ട
കാര്യമില്ല.
So it's almost 6. Shall we start?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, ma'am. Audible?
Yeah, Parvati. Yes, audible. How are you?
Good evening, ma'am. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
നമുക്ക് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം, മാം. Let's start.
Okay, Parvati. Okay.
Good to all gathered in this platform for the 17th webinar of Ecowings, Choose to Know Economics, coordinated by the Department of Economics, Government of Trivandrum. I welcome each and everyone to the student induction program of 20. So,
Parvati? Hello, Parvati?
Ma'am, and the network issue, ma'am, I can handle.
Okay.
Good evening to one and all. Today, we have gathered in this platform for the 17th webinar of Ecowings, Choose to Know Economics, coordinated by the Department of Economics, Government College for Women, Trivandrum. I welcome each and everyone to this Students Induction Program 2020-21. I invite Ashtami Santosh for the prayer.
എന്നും ഞാൻ പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കും ദൈവമേ നീ എൻ നിത്യ ദുഃഖങ്ങൾ
ദുഃഖങ്ങൾ മാറ്റിയിടുമോ? ഒരു നാളെൻ മുൻപിൽ വന്നിടുമോ? ഒരു മാത്ര കാണാൻ കൊതിക്കുന്നു ഞാൻ. എന്നിലെ തെറ്റുകൾ തിരുത്തുന്ന ദൈവമേ, എനിക്കെന്നും നേർവഴി കാട്ടുന്ന ദൈവമേ, അവിടുത്തെ തിരുമുഖം തിരഞ്ഞു വലഞ്ഞ ഞാൻ ഒടുവിലാ രൂപത്തെ തിരിച്ചറിഞ്ഞു. അമ്മയിൽ അച്ഛനിൽ എൻ ഗുരുനാഥനിൽ എന്നും ഞാൻ പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കും ദൈവമേ നീ. എൻ നിത്യ ദുഃഖങ്ങൾ മാറ്റിയിടുമോ? ഒരു നാളെൻ മുൻപിൽ വന്നിടുമോ? ഒരു മാത്ര കാണാൻ കൊതിക്കുന്നു ഞാൻ. ഒരു മാത്ര കാണാൻ കൊതിക്കുന്നു ഞാൻ.
Next, I invite Anupama for the welcome speech.
താങ്ക് യു ഗോപിക. നമസ്കാരം. ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട ഉമ്മ ടീച്ചർ, ചീഫ് ഗസ്റ്റ് ലേഖ ചക്രവർത്തി മാം, ജാനകി മാം, ഗാനശ്രീ മാം, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട കൂട്ടുകാർ, എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. PG ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ഓഫ് എക്കണോമിക്സ് ആൻഡ് റിസർച്ച് സെന്റർ, ഗവൺമെന്റ് കോളേജ് ഫോർ വുമൺ, ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം നടത്തുന്ന 17ാമത് വെബിനാറിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. ചൂസ് ടു നോ എക്കണോമിക്സ് സ്റ്റുഡന്റ് ഇൻഡക്ഷൻ പ്രോഗ്രാമിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവരെയും സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇറ്റ്സ് മൈ പ്ലഷർ ടു എക്സ്റ്റെൻഡ് എ cheerful വെൽക്കം ടു യു ഓൾ. ഇന്ന് നമ്മളോടൊപ്പം ചേരുന്നത് ശ്രീമതി ലേഖ ചക്രവർത്തി മാം ആണ്. ഷീ ഈസ് പ്രൊഫസർ at National Institute of Public Finance and Policy. She is also affiliated as Research Associate with the Levy Economics Institute of Bard College, New York. She is the pioneer economist in the institutionalizing gender budgeting in India, with Chief Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance, Government of India in 2004. Requesting all my friends to make use of this opportunity to know more and more about economics. Come up, ask your doubts with us, our chief guest, Lekha Chakraborty ma'am. Once again, I welcome everyone to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupama. Here comes the most awaited moment. Today, our chief guest is Srimati Lekha Chakraborty. She is a former student of our college and still a member of the family. She is the professor at IPFP New Delhi and research associate Levy Economics Institute of Bard College, New York. I welcome our most respected Lekha ma'am to speak a few words and inspire us.
Thank you. Thank you, Parvati, Anupama, and Gopika for such a warm welcome. And, Uma ma'am, Janaki ma'am, and, who is that new professor who just joined your center, Janaki ma'am and Ganeshri. So it's a happy moment for me to get connected back to Ganeshri. And of course, Uma ma'am is my friend, philosopher, and guide since 1987 when we met, and my young friends. It's my happiness, it's my happy moment to get reconnected to all of you, after our short interaction last month. And, it's amazing to know that you just completed your schooling, and even before physically come together and met together, you have done a lot of, dynamic programs at your center, interacting with the people from the different spheres of life who belong to your college and also from the different realm of life. So this experience you are gathering in the beginning of your uh, undergrad program, that itself shows that you are not just focusing on the syllabus or the curriculum of economics, but you are very dynamic and very broad minded, and this openness of your mind is the first thing that is required to learn economics. So when you ask me about the economics as a topic, this is the thing which I would like to flag, like be open. It's not a closed subject at all. You have to be very open to understand this subject. And the biggest takeaway of my, education, if I look at my undergrad or if I look at my post-graduation, MPhil, PhD, and, basically what I'm trying to say is how I studied and how I worked. If I tell you that story, that's a story Uma ma'am asked me to talk to you, how I worked and how I studied with emphasis on public economics, because that's the area of my specialization. So I would urge you to be open, openness of mind like this, to be open to all kind of experiences and the kind of networking you are doing with your peers and your seniors and the people who are in the different realm of your life. This is the basic prerequisite for any economic student to excel in life. This openness of mind is number one. Second, what exactly is economics? What exactly you are going to study? Why you preferred economics? So many of you must have already undergone a thought process. What is happening around me in the political, economic, and business fields? And if you ask me to extend the sphere further, I may say philosophically and psychologically, the behavioralism, everything is closely connected. What is that evolution? What is that process that compelled you to take economics? This is a question, It's not like I just chose economics just like out of vacuum. No, there must have been a thought process behind this, that why you have chosen the field of economics. And that thought process itself is the space in which you stand as a citizen of India, or as a woman, as a student, as a daughter. The space in which you stand, you have to understand in a broader perspective, and economics help you to understand that. It is, if you ask me in one liner, what is exactly economics? It's a business of life. That's exactly, it's a business of life. And there are different economists looked at this business of life from different perspectives. That's why I asked you to be just open. Your heart has to be open to understand the business of life. Because in future, you will study that economics is looked from different angles. Some economists we call as neoclassicals, some Keynesians, and some Ricardians. So there are different ways in which you can enjoy economics. And some of the students may be, liking the mathematical rigor of the subject, but some may be thinking the subject from a philosophical point of view. Some may be liking the aspects of the psychological aspects of it. So when you begin your class, when your teachers, when they teach you, what struck your heart, you have to capture that moment, and you must understand that, okay, the economics I am going to perceive in this way. So don't get depressed if some aspects of economics is not appealing to you. Because some students may be, very comfortable with the mathematical rigor and the econometric modeling and all. They have a space in their own manner in the field of economics. But some students, oh my God, this is not my cup of tea. I look at it from a very different angle, from a very philosophical or from a very psychological point of view. Don't think that you are not able to understand the whole economics. You are enjoying it just like an art, may not be like a science. So just for example, one book, I am sure that it's there in your library. That book is by John Robinson. John Robinson is a Cambridge, scholar, And you know about CDS also, right? You must go to CDS library also. Joan Robinson, her personal collections of books she gave to CDS. So CDS, there is a particular room, a particular cupboard in which we kept the books nourished or read by Joan Robinson. So her collection is there in the CDS library Trivandrum. So if you look at the book Economic Philosophy of John Robinson, she talks about the basic concept. When you come to the college, when your classes will begin, one basic concept of economics is utility. In pure English language, if you speak, it's a use, utility. What exactly is utility? So your teachers, like Janaki ma'am is going to teach you the microeconomics. So she will teach you the rigor of the term utility, how it has to be defined and all. But when your mind is open, when your mind is broad, you will be able to appreciate what John Robinson tried to say. Utility of function or utility of you or the enjoyment you get from something in your life. In economics, people quantify that, people speak about it. So in your preliminary classes, in the beginning of your classes, this is one of the concepts you may be thinking about, utility. And John Robinson, in her economic philosophy, in the first chapter, she talks about the utility. And, I vaguely remember that I read it long back, but one particular thing that I still remember is utility is a metaphysical thing. The moment you try to pin it down, it becomes just philosophy. So this is the range of economics. It's not just business or it not just what we see something just around. No, this the range in which you have to enjoy economics, and the prospects of economics is like it's vast. So that you have to humbly accept in the beginning, that economics is not just a narrow thing, it's quite a big thing. It's metaphysical. We will not be able to even capture that. And Amartya Sen, who was a Nobel laureate from our country, if you enjoy his books, it is not talking about the kind of the utility from a utilitarian perspective, like we utilitarian in the sense like everything, like whatever in the John Robinson's book also, in the first page she talks about what goes around comes around. That's a beautiful concept. When she was trying to explain this, she told this, what goes around comes around. So it's a bigger thing. And you have to open your mind to enjoy all these things. And it's not just definitions. It's not just the terms or a glossary that you're going to study. So that's the beauty of economics. So from utility, that's a micro concept. And there are many things in which you enjoy. Like another thing about utility is like, there is an innate feature for utility that it is diminishing. But many things don't have a diminishing marginal utility, right? Many things, friendship, love, our parents, many things in life never diminish. But certain things in your life has a diminishing marginal utility. Marginal in the sense, the thing which you do little extra, you're done with that. You don't enjoy further. You're done with that. So these kind of concepts, you enjoy and you study rather than thinking that, my God, it is not for me. No, these are the things you're going to enjoy, these concepts in the beginning of your class. Then your professors will take you to the big policy related macroeconomics. That's another beautiful world in which many things you read in the newspaper, you hear from the radio, and in the TV you see that many debates are happening around us. And the recent debate is about what is a center state relations, how the money is devolving down, what the finance commission is doing, or what is happening with the RBI. We have a pandemic time now. So how the RBI is framing policies to have a U-turn in our economy, and how we are going to benefit from the policies. So these kind of questions in the economics you learn from macroeconomics. So by the time you complete the macro and micro, you will be able to tell that, no, my cup of tea, macro is my cup of tea. If you think like that, then your path will be you will be, helping your country or you will be helping globally in terms of framing policies because you're enjoying the kind of the macroeconomic policy making. So that's a kind of macroeconomics. But if you are into the micro thing, I remember Hall Variant. There's a book in macro. Janaki ma'am may be introducing you to that at some point of time. And this Hall Variant, and recently I heard that he has joined Google. He left the economics profession in his. So we used to learn Hall Variant's book for the microeconomics, and of course I remember Kotsianis when we were young. So all these microeconomics word, you try to understand what exactly is a firm, what exactly is the individual behavior, the micro concerns. But macro takes it to an aggregate level and tell you the story at the aggregate in the sense at a broader level. So this is the simplest way I can tell you that what are the different worlds of economics which is going to be told to you. Then of course there should be a focus on your country because we need to know Indian economy. We have to understand our economy. So along with studying microeconomics, macroeconomics, you should always read the newspaper editorials, always listen to the economic programs. So that will make you a broad person. I remember when I was doing my undergrad, in the final year we have papers. I don't strictly remember the title of the papers. We have systems, we have economic development. There are a lot of papers. So in the exams, I still remember that before starting the answering the core of the question, somehow I used to connect the answers in one line or two to what was happening in the economy. I didn't know that that was a style in which you can write the exam. Then one professor told me that okay, that's a very good style of doing it because whatever I am telling you, you are trying to think one step ahead and you're trying to add one more point which has to gel well with your answer. Because many of the times that when you explain a theory or a pure theory, you may not be able to do that connect. But in the case of a trade, one answer, or in the case of a fiscal government related question, if you're asked and if you're relating to one sentence to what's happening around, your professors may think, oh God, this girl is well read. She knows that what's happening around. But I didn't know all these things. And if you ask me with a gun on my head, I will tell you the truth. I did this because one of my friends, he has little interest in the subject. So when I wanted him to be getting interest in the subject, I was thinking like I was a teacher even when I was a student. Like I will tell you, in the second year of my undergrad, I started teaching the first year students because teaching was my passion. So in order to make that meaningful and to interesting in my head, that time I was 19 years, so I thought that okay, I have to do something interesting before I tell the core theories to them. So this was the way, like one sentence which was very contemporary in nature, I used to link and then I used to tell them. So that's the way it happened. And that story of teaching the students at the undergrad first, like micro was in the first year, then macro second year, and third year it was like that. So what happened is that when our second year classes started, I started teaching the students of first year using the notes I prepared from. I definitely remember my journey to Uma ma'am's house. I have interest in the subject, but I was not getting a grip on it. I am reading books. Then I went to her house. I asked Uma Chichi how to go about. She helped me with providing her notes. And the constraint was that the syllabus, everything was changing that time. What she had studied was different from what I have to encounter. Still, she told that, and her handwriting I still remember. She shared all her notes. So I had a look at it. I was trying to grapple with, to make out what's happening. Because it's a new subject, I need to get a grasp of it. So much of effort I have taken. The class, what I focused in my class, what I get from my seniors, what I read myself in the library. So there was a struggle to get this subject. What is it? What is it core? So this kind of that intense search you have to do to get the core of the subject. And if you do that, in the long term, that's beneficial. But that time, it's a hell lot of a struggle because you may be managing many things at that time to get into the subject. But in the long run, you will get the grip. So that's the way, you will begin your classes and all, along with studying the portions. You will read editorials, you will engage in debates, you have to talk in conference in the sense your classroom, there will be short presentations. Never shy away from doing that. Even if it's a small topic of 20 minutes presentation, you have to prepare your PowerPoints. You have to come up and present that because these are, building you up. So that process you have to do. So reading, presentation, attending conferences. If something is around, you just go and sit there and listen to it in VGT hall or somewhere. If something is related to the economics, you just go and listen to them in CDS. If there is a conference, if there is a symposium, you just go and attend because you may not be understanding the core of it, but something will click you. That one spark is enough for you. So these kind of things in Trivandrum, there are opportunities, and now it's an online. You can selectively register for good topics and you just enjoy that selectively. So this you have to do along with studying the economics. So one is syllabus, the second is you are attending, then third is reading, and fourth is writing well. And many of us economists, we still grapple with good writing, clear writing, clarity in writing. And Uma ma'am is there, her clarity in her presentation and in writing. She can give you the clues in which how you have to write well. Because if you think properly, if there is a clarity in your thoughts, you write that very well. For example, in economics, it's unlike physics. In physics, you have Newton's third law. What is that? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's there, that's all. But in economics, you cannot say that 2 plus 2 is 4 and stop at that level. No, it evolves in you, the way you perceive things, the business of life around. That, when you read the answers, your professors will enjoy that process of thought in your mind. So that's the way you have to present an answer in economics. It's not just the definitions or not just, the terms, but how you approach the question and how you answer that evolution. That's the beauty of economics when you compare it with other science subjects. Science, we have a definite, very deterministic, answer to it, and that's quite clear, or it's like a mathematical thing or anything, something like that. But in economics, it's your how you perceive, and it's your thought process and the scope of broadening of mind, application of mind, of course the cognition in a lab, and the cognition when you perceive the things around you, that cognitive processes are different. So that's the way. Write well. Okay, so write well, speak well, presentations, then reading habit, then attending other seminars. All these things you have to do. And now, the next 5 minutes, let me focus on Uma ma'am asked me to focus on public economics. Some of you may be taking public economics as an elective or a subject, in these 3 years. So what exactly is public economics? As I'm working in a public finance and policy institute, Uma ma'am asked me to give you a taste or a basic sense of what exactly is public economics or public finance. 2 things. How professors will approach public economics can vary. Some of the professors, mentors, they approach it from a public choice perspective. Like even in that literature, democracy can determine your public expenditure decisions. I will tell you. But in some perspectives, public economics, it's from the neoclassical or something that you strictly, you don't involve the benevolent or non-benevolent government into it, but you approach in a different style. And one small example, this is a small example, then I will open the floor. I will answer your questions because that question answer session is something which I enjoy because you make me think, and that's a beautiful process and I want to give time for that. So one example is deficit. What exactly is deficit? You have a little bit of pocket money and you want to buy something. So pocket money is your revenue. You want to buy something, a pen or a chocolate. So that's your spending. So if you're buying a pen, I may call it as a capital because, of course, it's a finite capital for a finite time, but you can use it for some productive purpose for a long time. But if you are buying an ice cream, you're done with that. It's over. But the moment you don't have pocket money enough to buy an ice cream, you ask your friend, like, can you give me like a 10 rupees more so that I can buy this chocolate and enjoy it? Or for a pen, you ask your friend, can you give me, I'm running short of money, so this much is required. So that means you are basically borrowing something. This is what happening with our government as well. They have a lot of revenue with them. It's our pocket money, and they spend. So what is this pocket money or what is the revenue for the government? The tax we pay. And what is the spending? They have good hospitals, they have good schools, they build good infrastructure, roads, everything. So basically, what happens is that, sometimes states won't be able to finance all this expenditure from the taxes they collect, from the non-taxes they collect, from the user charges they collect. They have to basically borrow. And that concept is deficit. Okay. And you at the personal level also, my deficit is 2 rupees or my deficit is 3 rupees. You yourself can have deficit. And people perceive deficit from different perspectives. For some economists, deficit is bad. You have to balance it. Whatever you have, spend only that much. It's like you should have a balanced budget. This is one view. And some economists think deficit is good. Because if you are using that deficit, means that extra money you borrow and you're buying a pen or you're creating a capital, that is productive in nature. So a timely deficit is good. And this school of thought is Keynesians. And our JNU, in America, one center called Levy Institute, which I'm affiliated, that's what Anupama or Parvati mentioned, I think. That one, or Gopika mentioned, I think. So they are all, Keynesians. They think that deficit is good, a timely deficit is good because in future we are getting something done using that deficit. But the third class, they think that deficit or not doesn't matter because today's deficit may be tomorrow's taxes. So tax today or tax tomorrow is only flexibility we have, then the equal impact on economy. So different people perceive differently. And if you ask me, I belong to CDS and JNU CDS, we always believe that a timely deficit is good. But I'm not talking about the profligacy, like we take on deficit and we take on money from our friends and spending it on a hell lot of ice creams or chocolates. No, that profligacy is not what I'm talking. But rather than thinking that no, I will not buy this pen, you just borrow because it's a pen, and you may be writing articles. It's all hypothetically I'm talking about. You may be sending it to the journals. You may be getting a little bit of money, and that with that money you pay back. So these are beautiful concepts, like So economists are divided. Two economists are in one room means there will be four kinds of opinions. So John Robinson, if you ask me, she has spoken like you have to learn economics to understand what economists are talking. So that's a very brilliant kind of way John Robinson has answered. Like you have to learn economics to understand economists or not get fooled by economists or something. So that's the way she told that I studied economics not to get fooled by economists. That's what John Robinson said. And then voting, you will be voting, right, in the elections. And your voting pattern at that democracy, that is closely correlated with economics. Your choice, your decisions that matter for the government that voting models and how it is affecting your, your own decisions affecting you in a positive manner or a negative manner, that democracy, all these things are related. And I stop here. I think when you ask me questions, I will be molded, better about your requirements and your thought process, and I will respond to that. And thank you. Now the floor is open. You can ask me questions and I will respond. Any questions about how I studied, how I worked, because these are kind of, I have to be restrained in talking to you, and what are your aspirations, how you want to take it ahead, how it has to be done, what is the journey you are trying to plan, how you want to approach the economics from the beginning. You can share your thoughts as well. It's open. Joan. Somebody asked, is it Joanne Robinson? She's Joan. You can speak to me. I have seen your chat. Joanne Robinson.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. What was your strategy to love economics in your studying time? And Miss, നമ്മൾ എക്കണോമിക്സ് ഒരു MA PG എടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം ഈ ഒരു സ്റ്റഡിങ് ടീച്ചിങ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇന്ത്യൻ എക്കണോമിക് സർവീസ് അതല്ലാതെ വേറെ എന്തൊക്കെ ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ആണ് എക്കണോമിക്സ് വിങ്ങിൽ നിന്നുകൊണ്ടുള്ളത്, അതുകൂടി ഒന്ന് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാമോ മാം? ഈ UN, IMF, വേൾഡ് ബാങ്ക് അതുപോലുള്ള ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻസിലും കയറാനുള്ള മാനദണ്ഡങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ്, അതിനെപ്പറ്റിയുള്ള ഒന്ന് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാമോ മാം?
Okay, Anupama. So you're thinking, again, it's a utility. What's the utility of me learning economics, and what will be my path when I learn economics, and what was your strategy to love economics as a subject? These are brilliant questions. So Anupama, what was the strategy for me to love economics? Initially, when I was like you in the first year, I completely trusted my mentors, my teachers. That was my strategy in the first year, because that time, I told I went to Uma ma'am. I asked her, because when I was not trying to get the grip of the subject, that was a struggle. And my strategy was to believe my mentors, believe my seniors, and complete trust in them, and listen to the classes in which they beautifully taught the subject. So that was my strategy, like complete attention, like I don't know about how you perceive your mentors. In many Western world, I heard that you mark your teachers, like you have to evaluate the teachers class, and it is completely online. So the student mentality over there is like it's a little bit of a business in which, and the teachers, I don't know, that constrains your mentor or teacher there, because they will not perform more than what is required. If that is a system, I don't know, I'm just thinking aloud, like you will just be mechanical, you teach that and go. But the way, it's my alma mater, that's why I'm confidently telling, in women's college, it's not like that. And you completely trust your mentor. That's the strategy number one. And talk to them about, asking questions. Talk to them. That's a strategy number one. And over the days, you will find comfort in some kind of peer groups. Like you identify some of the students near you who have a mutual or a similar interest in nature. So that peer groups strengthen that. Discuss things with them and study and enjoy it. Because research or studying, if it is lonely process, like you listen to the class and study by reading books, that can be little stressful. So enjoy it by forming the peer groups. So that's a strategy number two. And third is, of course, Sadia has already mentioned that in your college, there are different forums in which you can show your talents of presentation, and you can take up the topic, you can debate, then you open the floor, the way you handle the questions. That is leadership. How you perceive your subject and how you deliver it. So that's the way you have to do. So these are the strategies. If we can gain from these 3 years itself, then of course there are moments in which you are with the peer group, and there are moments in which you need to skill up yourself by spending time on reading. So select books other than the books in your syllabus very judiciously. Talk to your teachers. Spend 1 hour, 1 hour. More than that, we have to balance both, right? Our education, because the academic score matters, but at the same time, what we build ourselves is also a strategy. This is a fourth one. And ultimately, if in the future we are aiming for in a position in which we do administration as well as enjoying the academics, or as you rightly pointed out, if you're working at the global level leading nations on this, the beginning, the baby steps you have to do right now is all these. You trust your mentor, you have peer groups, you present well, read well, and write well. And writing, you may have some blogs or something, 500 words. Okay, that itself is enough at this moment. 500 words with clarity. When you read different things, if you can articulate that 500 words with clarity, that's good enough. And if you do all these things, these are very good baby steps for taking up the things in the future. Then comes the competitive exams rigor, because once you are done with your class, then you have to appear for the competitive exams, and that practice, that focused kind of work, which is just tailor made kind of exams. What is a requirement, what is the syllabus for that exams? You need to focus a few months on that. But don't get disheartened. Like, if you are not for a competitive exam, forget it. You are maybe an academician, so you may enjoy something else. Or if you don't want to be an academician or this thing, you may become an entrepreneur by opening your own place and your own kind of a business. So there are different ways in which you can think about it. And usually our seniors, your seniors, my batch, what we have done is, after we have done the graduation, 3-4 streams. One, we can take up to the MA, then do your PhD, get your doctorate degree, get into the academic line. That's one thing. And the second thing is, within this academics, there are two kinds of things. One is policy research, the other is the mainstream academics, in which you teach in the university. So if you are working in a university, your ultimate aim is like writing good papers. That process you have to undergo, writing good papers, because there is nothing like publications. So you focus on publications and you mentor students. And if you are with the policy institute, publications and policy making, that articulation has to be little different. I will tell you. If you are asked, I mentioned about deficits, no? So I mentioned about neoclassical, Keynesian, Ricardian, and deficits. But the moment you are with the government, within the Ministry of Finance as an advisor, you have to unlearn the vocabulary or unlearn the articulation as a student or an academician when you speak there, because you have to convince the political people, and you have to convince the bureaucrats why this particular policy is important for your country. So our training is like, we run models, we do econometrics, we know so many theories, but the moment you speak, if you are speaking in the terms of like the theories you studied or the economic runs you ran, they won't be able to appreciate it. So that language is a very simple language. We will attain that when we talk to, so that language is different. So if you have the base of everything, then only you will be able to answer, or we will be able to articulate. For instance, one example is inflation targeting. RBI wants to target, go for an inflation targeting. So the experts have to speak to the finance minister and the prime minister of our country, why India needs inflation targeting. So we have a hell lot of literature on inflation targeting. We cannot speak in that way. Inflation hurts poor. We have to do this. We will be able to control the inflation if you are doing an inflation targeting, and these are the constraints. If you're doing the inflation targeting, these are the things which we will forego. What are the opportunity costs? So that language, has to be developed. So these are like the content or the people whom you are talking to matters. And you have to have the ability to switch and re-switch whom you're speaking. If you're speaking to an academic student, you speak in a different language. If you're talking to a policymaker, a politician, economics, that has to be told in a different manner. This skilling has to be done. And this will come, when you write something. If you're writing for a newspaper or economic daily, your language has to be different. But that language, you cannot write a article for a journal because journal is academic. So this kind of switching and re-switching and how to speak to the right audience in the right language, that skilling is important. So these are the strategies which we have to develop. And if you ask me, the prime strategy to love economics is I prefer to work in groups. Like I have students, I have interns. So I involve them rather than me doing a paper alone because we have to write papers. So like that, your mentor, when they ask you, they may ask you just to give a table on what's happening in the macroeconomy, state of economy. You give me first 5 indicators. That's what your mentor may ask you. Give that to your mentor. That kind of working together, that's very important, like the team building. So don't work alone, you work in groups. Then of course these are the strategies I think which worked very well with me. So these are the coping up mechanisms, and these are the reason I love subject. I prefer to be with my peers, collaborations, talking to my mentors, reading something. Okay, Anupama.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Anupama.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah?
Okay, good evening, ma'am. My name is Apurva. So, I would like to extend the question that Anupama asked earlier. So, like working with this huge global groups or global entities like IMF or World Bank or other banks or other such institutions. So is it like very necessary to have a degree or a master's or a PhD from an abroad university, or is it like okay to have a qualification from India, or is there any kind of test or any other preparations that we need to do to get into such institutions? So can you please brief about that?
Okay. Priya, no? Anupam, no, Apurva. Yeah, Apurva. Like after your undergrad, if you go abroad and study in very good universities abroad, of course, that's like it's comparatively easier to get into the global institutions. I will explain you that part, but many of us who studied within our country also, but both parts I will explain to you, and what suits you, you can prefer. Like now, after your undergrad, you want to join a good university. So, what are the criteria to get into a university abroad? 4 criteria. One is like your academic potential reflected in your credit, in your that marks and all. That's one thing. Second is you have to secure good recommendation letters. Good recommendation letters in the sense of one from the internal, from the place you studied, that recommendation letter, one from outside. Outside in the sense that shows your economics experience. Like as a student, where did you work or where did you intern? So they will give you another recommendation letter. So many students, why they do internship is because for the good universities abroad, it's not only mark, not only GRE scores or anything, mark, GRE score plus your economics experience matter. So you intern a place, or you intern with a professor, or you intern in a firm and you work, and that you show as your economics experience while studying what you have done. That's a third criteria. And fourth, your recommendation letters matter. because how your teacher perceive you, how the person whom you collaborated and worked, how that person perceive you, that shows your interest or your motivation. That's very important. And more than all these things, there is a document called statement of purpose. It's not like writing a strict proposal or anything. Statement of purpose means in that statement of purpose, you have to articulate why you have to go to that particular university and study. What's the relevance and what are the things that appeal to you as a student of economics over these years and what you gathered. So that statement of purpose, and there is a skill in writing that, because when a professor abroad reads that, they will be able to understand the proximity or that intense desire for you to enjoy the subject, and that is very important. So this is another thing, that statement of purpose. Then of course the kind of activities you have done when you are a student, that matters. Then in many universities they also ask what is that unaccounted work you have done. I know that in your department, your professors, Uma ma'am, is giving a lot of importance to the unaccounted work. Unaccounted work means certain work we do. It's not for our marks or anything. But that unaccounted work, it is not exactly hobby or anything, but some kind of work we do along with the studies. And in Delhi, students go to civil society organizations. They work with at the grassroots level for some time. So this kind of unaccounted work along with your studies, what you have done. So all these things. Then, of course, you have to highlight what is your hobby. So maybe that some students they upload the singing with guitar, and they say that give me a lot of likes, I need to send it as a part of my this thing when I apply. So many people, some people do painting, so those kind of things are law. But statement of purpose, you need to do very well, why you want to enter. Then you get into the foreign university. Then in foreign university, when you do, there's a you have scope for working with as a research assistant to your professor there. And you also can get a lot of opportunities in which you can intern for 1 month or two with the organizations around you. So these are all, you are on right track if you do all these things. Okay, so right now what you have to do, you have to study. Then at the end of the year, if you're planning to go abroad, be ready, be ready with a statement of purpose, with a little bit of internship. Then the way you work your, you get your recommendations letter, and you also maybe for the PhD and all, you need to identify a professor abroad with whom you can collaborate and work. And if they give you that recommendation letter or a support letter that of course I'm interested in the student, then it is easy to get funds for you to go there, because our parents, they don't have a lot of money to support our education in a foreign university. So you have to secure your funds. So to secure the funds, a professor in the university which you plan to go, they have to be sure about your area of interest, because your statement of purpose, if it is really excellent, they will support you, that I support, and then funding will be easy. So this is about the higher studies. And then getting into global organization from the foreign university will be easier. But I am not telling that the students who have studied in our place till PhD, the avenues are closed. I'm not telling that. That is also equally possible, but that these parts are different, because the first part, what I mentioned to you is, the person Geeta Gopinath, who is a chief economist, she's a Malayali. So Geeta has done that. She was with the right mentors. She was at the right place at the right time. I also heard that when Geeta Gopinath applied in many universities, she got through one particular university, and that mentor, that professor told her, of course, I will be happy that you continue here, but your place is somewhere else. Then she was asked by that professor to appear in Harvard. I don't remember exactly. I read somewhere. So these are the things. You read the stories also of what do you call, the eminent people. That is very important to understand the way they have gone. But if you look at the way in which the students studied in our country, if you ask me my part, or the people who have got into, the international organizations, that was like it was based on the work. If I remember correctly, some examples I can tell you. After completing their post graduation and PhD degree, after PhD, okay, the minimum thing is PhD. As a student, you have to continue as a PhD. Otherwise, after undergrad, you are going to intern, but that's at the different positions or a contractual positions. Okay, and after completing the PhD, they go through some interview, and if it's a UN agency, they have a test. You have to write a small test based on a theme they give you. You have to write an exam. Then you have different levels of interview. The first level of interview will be on topic. The second will be HR, human relations. Then the third round will be with a different set of people, the organizational structure, the different level of people. Like first will be the country office talks to you, then the regional office will talk to you, then the high headquarters will talk to you. So you have to articulate yourself through the different interview groups, and of course, basically what you will reveal that and you will get through. And we have many good examples of people from our state got into the international organizations. Then there is another way of collaborating with international organization is you will be in an institute which is based in India, but you will be asked to collaborate on short term. That is also possible, like maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, so that you have your grounding here in India, but you can work with them. So these are the different possibilities. Am I clear, or you have any questions, Apurva? Like I didn't mention any process which you wanted to know.
No, it was really clear, ma'am. But then,
okay, yeah, tell me.
Okay, let Anupama continue.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, is it mandatory to study in foreign university to get into global organization? Can we go to Delhi School of Economics or other higher universities in our country and get into this organization?
Absolutely. That's what the second part I was mentioning to you. Those who studied in our country, Delhi School of Economics is an excellent place. JNU is an excellent place. Wherever you are, it's not mandatory that you have to be a student from a foreign university to get into the global organizations, because global organizations give a lot of importance to diversity. So when the diversity is given importance, the way you handle the what do you call, the procedures, if you click, if you perform very well over there, it's not mandatory for you to study abroad at all, because especially I know students from our city, Trivandrum, mobility is a big concern. From Trivandrum to Delhi, going, that itself was a big concern for me when I was doing my MPhil, because in school I was never allowed to go even for an excursion, because my mom used to get scared. So when we are talking about working at the global level and women, let me tell you about little bit of a security issues also. And Anupama, your question, you're completely correct when you say that when you study in our colleges and schools and universities also, you have complete scope to go abroad and work at the global level. That is not denied at all. But the struggles I will explain to you. Struggles in the sense, one is the mobility and the exposure, all these things, how you tackle, that is very important. That personality and the personal capacity also matters along with the studies. So maybe that personal capacity may be the only factor which I may say that it differs, or why I'm giving emphasis, I'll tell you. Let us take a small example, mobility, because many of us, we know that regarding the social norms and all, we need to really work out how we can overcome those constraints and overcome those fears, and to get the confidence in us to go. When I was in MA, BA, I'm not telling that I'm from an overprotected family or anything, but my mom didn't allow me to travel much. So traveling, that was a big concern, and I used to get tensed. Only for youth festival, I think I have gone up to Kochi. Or another year, I went up to Kozhikode. Otherwise, she didn't allow me to go beyond Trivandrum. Personality, development or the exposure, I'm telling you. Second is my supervisor in CDS for the first time. He asked me, "You have to go to Delhi, NIPFP, where I'm working right now. You have to go to NIPFP to get the data for the work you are doing for your MPhil." Because that time the data was not open, it was very constrained, and only a limited data avenues were there. You have to go and collect it. And my mom told that whatever you can do within Trivandrum, please do. I don't have the, what do you call it, the confidence for you to travel in train because uh, she can provide me maximum a sleeper class ticket in Kerala, Express or Rajdhani. 2 nights and 3 days in train, go to Delhi, collect your data, come back, work for your MPhil, submit your MPhil in CDS. So she told that that's not possible. You tell your supervisor. Then I went and told him that I'm not allowed, I'm not able to travel. So see the constraints. You have to tackle at many levels, different things. And then what happened? The students who traveled, they collected data for me and they helped me. My peer groups. They helped me in getting the state finance reports. That time it was only with an IPFP. The third tier data was a big problem. Then when I'm traveling, I think I traveled after my marriage in a big scale. Now I travel because when I got the international, assignment first, that time, from Trivandrum, I joined my office. Within 1 year, I'm getting an international assignment to go to Colombo. So I was thinking that how will I be able to, purely based on the work I did in my room, that projects, where the place you work, how the international assignments open for you. That story I'm telling. But the thing is that safety and security is not an issue because the moment you land as a part of an organization, you go through your passion and through your hard work and through your merit. Then once you get a position, an entry position, you join as an economist in an organization. You're part of that. So when the moment you land in a foreign country, there's no security issues because in the airport itself, someone will be with a placard, your name, and the vehicle to take you to the hotel in which you're booked. So you're completely safe. In the hotel, your name will be already booked, like a room will be already assigned to you, and you just, with the help of them, and then you get a call or a letter will be there on the desk that, welcome or something. So it's completely safe. And tomorrow, this time is your meeting. Maybe I will meet you at the breakfast table tomorrow. I will come over and meet you and then take you to the meeting. Then they will be completely, and then they will provide us a vehicle. So completely this doable process. Then you don't have to just get scared that how will I go, my god, different country, I'm going alone in my mid-20s or late 20s. Nothing like that, because when you're going on a mission, you are completely safe and secure, and you will be up to it. You are not vulnerable there, you will be up to it. So that you must not think that I cannot do it because it's far, it's different country. No, you can do it, you can travel. Our seniors have done, we are doing it, we will be able to do it. So those kind of personality, the personal capability, you have to build up. And second thing, regarding your own work, your own knowledge, nothing like it. So when you build a knowledge, and if you are in the right projects, if you are in the projects which are upcoming in nature, when you work, when you do good work, uh, you know uh, uh, opportunities will come to you. Maybe an email, one mail will come from some organizations. I am so and so, I have read your paper working on this, I'm interested in your work, why don't you come for this thing, like that. That I'm talking about my stories, how avenues open to me. Then I will go there, and in that conference, maybe 10 avenues will open for you. So the beginning may be a small thing. So whatever projects come to you, don't think that it is not relevant or anything. Whatever comes to you, you have to do it with your heart, soul, and brain. That the first project, when you get it, because based on that work, when you publish it or when you put it up, based on that, the 100 avenues will open. Because then people, okay, such and such person has written on this topic, and this is very interesting. And there are similar, kind of works happening at the global level. For example, SDG, for example, gender. So, they have the international working groups working on it. So they invite you. You go there. Then you will get international peers, international scholars. Then they will tell, why don't we collaborate and work together? So like that, your world will open up. So it's not simple in the beginning. The basis of everything is your own work. Whatever comes to you as the first project, you have to take it up with heart, soul, and brain and work it out, because that's going to be the stepping stone and the opening for many other things in life. Then, when you build up your experience, then different opportunities will open and it come up as a UN job or IMF job. When it come up, then you apply. When you apply, then based on your work, you will be through. So that's a way. That's one way in which you get into the international organization based on your work. Okay, so there are different ways. One, you can intern. You start with the contractual positions in the international organizations. Second is based on your work experience. The avenues get open up for you, and the people whom you meet, take seriously. Like you have to talk to the people in a conference. If you go, even the keynote speaker may be a big shot, but you find time and you go and speak to them 2 or 3, because the kind of, you have to mingle with scholars. That's very important. So there are avenues in which then you can write to that person that I listened to thing, I interacted with you, I am planning to have my studies abroad. So this is a way I think. So they will help us. And these are the things coming to my mind. You asked me where I was unclear. I can make it more clear. So these are the ways in which you can get to the global level. Yeah, ask me.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my question is not related with the previous 2 questions. My question is, how do we explore the subject a little more? That is, already we are restricted within the syllabus or other examinations to go and apply for PG. But beyond that, I am a person who believes that we need to explore the subject to develop a liking towards it. So how do we explore the subject and identify this is my cup of tea, or this is on the subject where I can shine more?
Oh, wonderful. Exploring the subject is, there is no shortcut other than reading books. Okay. You read the books and talk to your mentors, and that's a way. That's the first thing. And reading, what are the things to read? Because, our beginning of the world is the intense process of we as a person exploring the subject within ourselves. So reading, there's a list for the beginner, those who begin studying economics, like that reading list. I think Uma ma'am knows it. Maybe I can also give you the reading list, like many economics books, very interesting in nature. You read those books, whether it is on capital or whether it is on, I'm not asking you to read that big, thorough, very technical books or anything, but the small, what do you call, the articulation is very simple. So you read those kind of economics books, the big, as a beginner, like Affluent Society of J.K. Galbraith. That's what I read. And John Robinson's Economic Philosophy I read. There are many good books. Quickly, the list is not coming to my mind, but there are many books. And even Umachichi has read during that time some of the books. And some of these books are not strictly economics, but it filters into the political economy, or it filters into philosophy or psychology. It broadens your world, so that you can read. This is one thing. The second is read the books like biography, like books like Y.V. Reddy has written a book, Rekuram Rajan has written, then Good Economics by Dufflo and what do you call Abhijit. So there are many books you can read, and Stiglitz. Stiglitz is a very super fine economist. Stiglitz has written books. Then Economics of Government. There are many books which broaden your mind. So that is one way of exploring the subject. There is no shortcut for reading. That's the only way. Second is, whatever you read, you discuss with others. Then the kind of debating skills increases. So this is second thing. Third is how you perceive the economic policies around you. So you have to analyze the articles in The Economist, the Wall Street Journal, and the editorials. So those kind of the policy perspectives. Again, read. That's the Moses and Prophet. There is no shortcut. You read the contemporary economic policies. So that's another one. The second, so books, then your editorials, then the Economist, then magazine, then these are the things. And fourth one, you listen to talks. Like there are many interesting scholars, senior scholars who have spoken about the introductory thing. And quickly, what's coming to my mind is if you get into Mankiw's macroeconomics. So Mankiw, you can listen to his talks. Then you recently I listened to Timothy Tyler. He's the editor of Journal of Perspectives of American Economic Association. Timothy Taylor, you can read. So there are many good economists, and maybe Uma Ma'am, I can give you the list of those economists you have to listen to. Of course, Geeta Gopinath, she's like she's a global person, and you get into the YouTube, listen to how she speak, listen to the content, and she's not she's a technocrat, but she doesn't use too much of what do you call the technicalities when she speak to the wider audience. So you will be able to understand. So in the context of pandemic, she has spoken many. There are many good videos in IMF. You listen to Geeta Gopinath. That's a way you listen to the scholars, how they speak, how they analyze the subject. So that's the you listen to Amartya Sen, you listen to the Nobel laureates, and that's the third way. Then reading, if you don't want to explore so many things, you just focus on the stories of the Nobel laureates, because in the Nobel, when they accept, they give a speech, no acceptance, they give a speech. You just go through those things. Every year when they accept, they deliver a speech. You read that speeches. That's a wonderful experience. So these are the ways in which you can explore right now as an undergrad student. Then you will be able to understand what's my cup of tea, which kind of economics I'm enjoying, whether it is micro, whether it is macro, or whether it is international economics, international finance. What's my cup of tea? You will be able to understand. So there is no shortcut of reading and listening to the scholars. So that's what I think. What do you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Devika.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. I also think that that's the right way to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Good evening, ma'am.
yeah,
Hello.
yeah. Tell me. I can see you.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm
Yeah.
Megha.
Hmm.
I just want to ask you about your research topics.
Okay. Research topics. Let me start with my PG, because we have started doing our thesis dissertation at the PG level, because that time it was a the experimental group with our seniors have begun that process. We switched on to analytical economics or applied economics in that year, and one semester or 6 months was devoted to, it's not strictly 6 months, one paper was to write a dissertation or to write a short thesis. And when I talk about my research interest, I have to talk about four fields. So I began with industrial relations when I was in my post graduation. I was exploring the question that what determines the productivity of an industry, whether industrial relations, the state business relations, and the management labor relations, whether that affect productivity or what are the kind of the other things. Like that was my question, and my professor, I remember him with gratitude. My HOD, Professor Ramchandran sir, his thesis was also on industrial relations. So the way he has mentored me to do that analysis, he asked me to go to a unit, and it was a national textile unit, and ask these questions and do a small survey and structured interview, and come out with an answer that what determines the productivity and whether industrial relations is a big variable or not. So I went to one unit. I forgot that particular place in Trivandrum. Bad me. I went to that NTZ unit and I asked the questions because that unit was a sick unit. Now you have this, what do you call, the banking code is there, right? Before this banking code, there was a Board of Industrial Reconstruction and Financing, BIFR. So this National Textile Corporation was referred to BIFR as a sick unit, an industry. But at the same time, the unit in Trivandrum, when the management gave me the list of variables, as per the BIFR norms, this unit was not sick. I identified. Then I went and told professor, so this is not a sick unit because as per the government that mandate of BIFR, these are the kind of variables and these are the norms. But as per this, all the indicators are showing that the unit is not sick. Then sir asked me, okay, then go and explore. If the unit is not sick but induced sick because that company, the NTC as a whole, is referred to as a sick unit and it is in BIFR, what is the kind of reconstruction they are getting, or are they denied of something? Then I explored that and I understood that as they were referred sick, the financial flow, it was not coming up. That further affected, and it was inducing the unit to go further sick as they were referred sick of no fault of that unit. So these kind of things. And my friends used to tell me, Lekha, this is real research, that you have gone and studied a unit which is sick and your thesis telling that it is not sick at the end of the day. So that was my first research when I was a PG student. And this research was very tough. Even growth rate computation is one of the easiest computation, but even that computation, it was very, because that time there was no econometrics modeling or computer packages, or that kind of revolution happened a little later. So we belong to a generation before that. So my seniors, I still remember with gratitude, my seniors who was in MPhil and all, they helped me to do, because I know broadly what the story I want to tell, but I don't have the skills to methodologically tell all these things. So the seniors who were doing the research, they helped me to do all these things, the little bit of computations, quantitatively, how you can say. Then I read articles in EPW and the journals related to industrial relations, and I came to know that we can apply model to this. Then I started collecting. I went to the unit and I told that I want a degree of trade unionism, I want productivity data, I want profitability data. Based on my reading, I went and asked, and they told what is the time span you want. When I asked 10 years, I got. When I asked for more than 10 years, they didn't give me. But 10 years is not a good thing to run a regression or a model, because number of the time series is limited. But I came with that, and I was so this thing that I want to do it econometrically, just like the way the papers I read, I want to do it. Then Professor Ramchandran sir told me that you have to go to the futurology department in Kerala University. There's a Professor Nandagoma sir. He can guide you how to do it, because he has got the package, and there were only few computers in Trivandrum that time with the econometric package and the exposure. And if you're so intensely interested in this, you have to go there. Now, it's so normal, it's everywhere, all this econometric package, and it's like a, what do you call, the luxurious world. But when we were students, it was quite a few avenues. Then I went and told sir Then sir told that you have to increase the at least the time series to this level. Then we can do some story, and basically I will tell you how to interpret coefficients like one a percentage increase in one variable lead to what kind of change in the other variable. All these things I can tell you. But then, Professor Ramchandran sir asked me, are you confident about your model? Can we do this? Then I told that Professor Nandakumar sir has guided me. Then he called Nandakumar sir that Lekha wants to do a small econometric model in her thesis for MA. Have you seen this model? Can it be, is it doable the way she's explaining? Then Nandakumar sir supported me. Yes, this if she is so keen, her dissertation can be little fine-tuned and it can be published if we can help her. So this is the level of confidence I got from my mentors. So that gives me, as a person, that gives me a lot of strength to get into the research, my teachers. And this is the same experience you're going to get from your department, that support. And that's our strength for the research. Number one, you trust your mentors. That's number one. Second, in the MPhil, in CDS, I took up for my MPhil the topic fiscal decentralization. That time, I wanted to continue industrial relations. I wanted to explore a little further the industrial organization or that kind of theories because my proposal I gave to CDS was that. But later on, like you asked me, what is my cup of tea? I was constantly searching for that. It's not like constantly searching that I am not having fun or anything. I enjoyed. It's not like I don't have any fun or anything, but this thought process is like, it's always there in you. And when I was thinking that, I understood that I want to work with policymakers. I don't know why I'm talking like this because that's the way I thought it. That time, Professor I.S. Gulati was the state planning board vice chairman and Professor Thomas Isaac. And me, I know my capabilities that time. I was not so confident a scholar that I go to them and tell, sir, like state planning board vice chairman, so I want to work with you. I cannot articulate that, but this desire was in me so strong that I want to work with policymakers. But I was a student who was, Uma ma'am knows the way quiet and shy and withdrawn I was. But if you ask me that fire in the belly, this was my fire in the belly. I want to work, I want to work with the policymakers. That was my first thing. And then I talked to my seniors that how can I do this? Then they told that they are brilliant professors. They are very approachable. You talk to Thomas Isaac, sir, they're very approachable. You talk to sir that you want to work. And then I went and talked to Professor Thomas Isaac, who is our finance minister now. And sir, he is a very good mentor. And he told that you take up this project on panchayat level, revenues and expenditure analysis, and how the state finance commissions are dealing with this question. It's an upcoming topic. At the third tier, there is no much literature, not much studies, so you can contribute to it. And second, he told that general government data, like data at the three levels, center, state, and the local level, IMF provides that in the government finance statistics. So these are the new kinds of avenues opening to me regarding data. And I went and asked CD's library, do we have this data in floppy, not even CD or not even a pen drive or a flash memory. That time it was floppy, like a big kind of a square floppy, then a small floppy. In floppies, we have to get the data. Floppy gets correct. So I explored the data. Look at this. So from the theories, I'm getting into the empirics. Then I slowly express my desire that, sir, I want to work with both you and Professor Gulati. Professor Gulati was a London School of Economics student. He was Professor Alan Peacock, who was the Doyne in Public Economics student. He's got that exposure. Then he came back. He loved Kerala and he stayed back here. He loved our city, Trivandrum. And then he was planning board vice chairman. And Professor Gulati then sir told that, okay, I can talk to him. Before that, you have to read certain things because I have to communicate, I have to articulate as a student. It's my performing moment. So you have to do certain things, and then I talked to Professor Gulati. Then he told, yes, you can work with me, and Isaac sir, that was a moment. But that time also it was a big struggle. I didn't get the complete grip of research even at the MPhil level. I used to talk to my seniors. I used to struggle that time also. That if you ask me when I understood that I can do my research without mainly asking, clarifications or this thing running around, that was for my PhD. So if you ask me at PG level, I couldn't handle, but I have a lot of 1 billion dreams I have in my mind. I want to do this, I want to do model, I want to do that, but I couldn't handle. But it's immense blessings of God. It's immense blessings. I have my seniors who supported me then. Then in CDS also, I have $1 billion questions, but I don't know the methodology to work it out. My seniors helped me then. Then PhD, I talked to Professor Gulati. I want to continue my PhD with, in between, I wrote my JRF. I got my fellowship. So 5 years I can register in CDS for my PhD. So then I told that this MPhil I will do for my PhD also, that is on fiscal decentralization. Then, Professor Gulati told, look, Lekha, if you do fiscal decentralization for your PhD also, then people will think that you know only decentralization. You have to diversify. Then, in the public finance, you think about a question, you have to diversify. Then for the public economics course, the national level, Professor Amrish Bakchi came to CDS. He was teaching us, and I went to him. He was in CDS hostel. I went to him, sir, appointment. So I'm planning to take up my PhD in public finance, and I'm exploring the kind of fields which I want to work and focus and specialize. So what are the questions you can help me? The way I'm telling, I'm not talking like that to at all to sir. Uma ma'am knows the way I used to talk. And then he suggested some questions in which I can explore. Then I read on those lines, then talked to Professor Gulati. Then Professor Gulati told that particular morning he read in a journal in our CDS library about the question of deficit and interest rate link. Then he told me, Lekha, explore that. What is the link between deficit and interest rates? My God, it's a fiscal and monetary policy linkages. Unless you have a grip of macroeconomic policy, both on the fiscal and the monetary thing, that's the beginning. Then I read articles. It was very tough. Then my first work in progress seminar came. I did this exploring the fiscal deficit and interest rates. But then professors told that with this particular focus question, you will not be able to write a thesis. You have to ask broadly what you want to do as a PhD. At least 3 core chapters needs to be there. Then it was a struggle. I'm not able to connect. This is a major topic, and to make it a, PhD topic building, that took a lot of time. So it was basically reading. Like I still remember I started with Journal of Perspectives, Symposium of Deficits by Janet Yellen, who was the previous former Fed chairperson. I read that Symposium of Deficits. So this is like basically you are building up. I'm talking to you in detail because, the journey was never easy. That's what. And it was a beautiful question. You asked me what are my research interests. So I'm telling you in detail the journey. Then PhD, then I understood. And one fine morning, this process is not easy. One fine morning, it clicked in me that I can look into the macroeconomic consequences of deficit. I can look into interest rate. I can look into inflation and many other various aspects. And I myself found how I can do better. And then I was writing chapters. But this process will take time. That's why it's called a research, right? So when you don't understand the questions or when things are not happening you quickly, don't worry. You continue reading. There's nothing equivalent to reading. You have to read related to your topic. Then things will work out. Then I joined my research institute, and the area I focus is macroeconomics and fiscal. Fiscal is the public economics, and I work on gender budgeting. I mentioned to you last time, that was a pioneering project, and from that project, that my professional skills developed to look into the gender and macroeconomics. Then I worked a little bit with the corporate firms on mining sector. With Tata, I worked on mining. With Vedanta, I worked with mining. So a little bit of mining as a non-tax revenue. I work. Then, it's like a grasshopper. If you ask me my areas of interest, if you want to get to a very, what do you call, yeah, to a good level, you have to be like a grasshopper sometimes. Grasshopper in the sense you have to hope, you have to understand broadly that understanding of the topics, broad topics, and the internationally and nationally, what's happening in the economics, and you have to have that awareness. So I am a grasshopper also. Like we have to build the skills of understanding the different topics related to that. Then you have your own core research interest, and for me, that is macrofiscal, and that's it. And of course, to the core, I love monetary economics. And if you ask my dream at this point of time, I would like to share with all kind of apprehensions and aspirations and prayers to you. Right now, my passion is monetary macro. I am reading monetary macroeconomics right now along with the fiscal. So you never cease to be a researcher. Your passions will differ. So right now, I'm spending my soul into monetary macro. I want to understand that better. That's it.
Thank you,
Meka?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Words are so inspiring.
Thank you, Meka.
Th-
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, ma'am, for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. Like, I have a question for you. Like, if I'm planning to study abroad, like doing a master's, will it be better to do it after my like master's here in India, or like directly going for master's abroad? Because my concern is like when you go abroad or like when you go to good universities, the level at which those professors will teach you is still going to be very different, right? Because as a student, what I will be having is like a very tiny knowledge about the subject. And going there, like we'll be having a very huge expanse of it. So will I be able to grasp those things, like if I directly go there after my undergrad, or which one will be more better?
Oh, wonderful. If you're aspiring to study abroad, right now what you have to do is like mathematics, no? You have to have a firm knowledge of that mathematics and, the quantitative economics. So, many students, when they gave the feedback, like what was the tough moment for them, this is what they told them. Our mathematics and the quantitative economics, we need to focus a little more, and we need to take it ahead. Other than that, nothing to worry. You will be able to make it. And the coping up, that's not at all an issue. The coping up, but this quantitative skills, that's the feedback I received from the students who have gone after completing the studies here, and that's it. And it's not a non-approachable thing at all. And now, given the online forums, you can always know that what's the text and what's the syllabus which is there in this universities and all. You can have a quick look, and you can talk to your mentors, and it's very much possible. But the quantitative skills, the mathematical skills, you need to focus a little more. That's all. It's doable. It's doable. But as I told you, it's a process, and that process we need little support. Process in the sense, we have to go through the funding. We have to identify the right universities, those kind of things. Like if you're going to Oxford or Cambridge, the admission you may get, but what's the funding you have to then, like Commonwealth Fellowship. So this kind of funding avenues, along with choosing the right place in which you want to be the student, that process takes time. So along with your studies, identifying that or getting guidance of that is very important. And the people who have recently done that, if you can collaborate, or if you can talk to them, they will be able to guide the recent trends in which you can do it. And I think I can talk to my interns who have gone there and share their emails with you, or their coordinates with you. You can ask them how they have done it, how they have got into it. That's a process actually. Along with your studies, you need to do that. And another thing, you have to submit some paper along with the your scores or degree marks, because that is like you may conduct a small survey and you come up with an analysis of that survey data, and your skill to write a paper. So those kind of knowledge, those kind of things you need to handle along with your studies now. Because first thing, you have to understand the requirements, and then up to it you have to fine tune. But what I am talking is the different alternatives and the different components of what you have to focus. It's not a particular clean or a non-messy way I'm telling what are the different things you have to do, like identifying the college, what are the process you have to undergo, what are the requirements they have other than your mark sheet. Like I ask you to write an SOP, I ask you to write a paper based on a small survey. So these are the kind of different components you need to understand, the requirements, you need to understand the place you're focusing, and it's doable. It's very much doable. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have the same question as someone posted in the chat box.
Yeah.
How can we know more about the internship opportunities we have as an undergraduate student?
That we have to explore in the Trivandrum city, or in different cities, like how you can intern. Different institutions and different corporate firms have the different criteria. For instance, the place I work, in an IPFP, the criteria is that we allow internship for the PG students who completed the first year, and in between first and second year. So they come in that summer vacation, a summer intern to an IPFP. But in other organizations, even undergrad students can intern. Internship is basically you be the part of the professor or of the economist in providing certain data support or ROL, like literature review support. So in the process, you learn to write, you learn to analyze. If you're extremely lucky, then you may get a co-authorship with the professor, because that professor must have involved you in all the process of writing the paper, from writing the literature review, because any problem you have to read the existing papers on that topic. So professor will tell you, you go and read these 5 papers and get a gist of what you have read, write it in 1,000 words and give it to me. That is review of existing literature on a topic. Then your professor may ask you, you go and do the data, like GDP data or inflation data. What is a trend, like whether it is upturn or downturn, whether it is a volatility in the graphs. They may ask you to prepare. These are very much doable, very much doable. If it is not doable, they will help you. So these are the process in which the professor makes you through the different. And if your internship is just 1 month, you may be completing just the literature review. But that itself is a big achievement, because you learn to write based on what 5 papers you have read with them. These are the ways. And internship, you have to explore. Like last time when I was talking to you, I mentioned internship has to be with different people to become a complete economist. Sometimes you work with a corporate firm, and I don't know, I'm hypothetically thinking in the Ministry of Finance, in the finance department. I don't know, because the government organizations getting an internship will be very tough. I don't know whether they accommodate students. for 1 month, or then basically you understand how they function, like building the budgets, how they process the budgets, or any organization related to the budgets, or even RBI. There is an RBI in Bakery Junction. You intern with the RBI, but we have to explore what is the potential of internship at the undergrad level, whether organizations are open to it. If the organizations are open, in which unit you will be interning, in the credit department, or different sections are there with whom you are interning. But the thing is that, throughout the process, don't get disturbed at all if you're not able to cope up, or if you get one particular behavior which may be a negative or anything, but that's not deciding your path at all. You must come up. That's a way. Internship has got two things. One is like it's too early, you are getting the exposure. But if for some bad luck, if you are not with a person who is more patient, they may show, okay, it's not like this, then don't get dejected. That's not the point which is going to decide your life. That's a problem of you guys are very young, so those kind of things should not happen. That's another very thing, important thing you need to understand, that's nothing. You will overcome that. There are a lot of avenues in front of you. Also, when you work so early with professionals or with organizations, one small casual comment or sweeping statement should not bother you much, because you're above that. You will make it up in the future. So that's one thing you need to be very very firm on, that no, this has happened. Or if it's a mistake, of course you can always correct, because it's a process of learning. But these are the things you need to handle. Don't get at all rejected. You will come up. Any moment you can come up. That moment doesn't decide your future. So these are the things you have to be very cautious when you work so early in your life, with professionals. That's it. Internship. I'll ask that what are the scopes we have. And even students from Pune, Gokhale Institute, they travel all the way to Delhi. But I think their home. I mean, maybe they are from Delhi. But students come, but we have a hostel, and they stay in the hostel, and hostel is free, and we give an internship money to them also for 1 month, and they work with us and go. And this is very important, because if you want to go abroad, along with your mark sheet, you have to show your research experience. So you have an internship with a particular organization for 1 month. The students know the value of that getting attached to their application. That's the importance of internship. To get that, they start writing to professors from February onwards, so that something will click in summer time to get internship, and they travel and work with them. And that's it. Internship is very important if you want to go abroad. Your research experience with organization is very important, along with your mark and the recommendation letter from the person who you've been affiliated to. So take this very seriously if you have plans to go abroad. Internship, that research experience. That's why some people, after doing this PG, they take 1 year, maybe a gap, then they work with certain organizations, they get the skills, they get the certificate, and then they apply. Then their, their case, their application is strong. So they make it, more rigorous by doing that. These are the things. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
I would like to ask an aspect related to public economics. So you said that you are in favor of deficit financing. So in present situation of a pandemic, we know we are nearing to a recession type situation. So at that time, how is it applicable, like deficit financing, or what can we do in that particular situation? And what is the role of public economics there?
Wow. So Sadia, your question is so brilliant. What is the role of public economics in the time of pandemic, right? And it's a very brilliant question. Anupama is appreciating like brilliant question to you. Okay, Sadhya, I can see that in the chat box. It's a very brilliant question. And different countries approach this question differently. We have, to work with the debt deficit dynamics to deal with the pandemic. And so far, what we have done in India is the stability of the revenue, our revenue uncertainty is there. So we will also frame, the stimulus packages in such a manner that it won't show up like a huge fiscal stimulus or anything when we have revenue uncertainty. So this is one point of view. And second point of view is when you have macroeconomic uncertainty or when you have uncertain times, you have to be really, a believer of the statement deficit is good. You have to think that we have to prevent the humanitarian crisis. We have to prevent the economic, recession further. We have to do certain things for that. The money should not be a constraint. And what are the avenues in which, what are the innovative ways in which we can finance the pandemic? So, what is the pandemic economics of RBI, and what is the pandemic economics of North Block? Then, then Ministry of Finance. If you look at the pandemic economics of RBI, what they have done is they have reduced the repo rate. And what is repo rate? That is a rate in which the RBI gives, deals with the commercial banks, the rate at which the RBI deal with the commercial banks. But that is not the rate of interest which matters to the customers or us directly. That is repo rate, RBI with the commercial banks. But unless there is a monetary policy transmission of this reduction in the repo rate, of what is the rate in which RBI deals with the commercial banks, that monetary transmission has to happen, that commercial banks also should reduce interest rates for the customers, right? That should happen. Unless that monetary transmission happens, then repo rate reduction will not have the intended impact. But RBI has started the process, and now we need to focus more on the monetary policy transmission to reach it to the other end to stimulate the demand. That's one thing. Second is, there is an MPC committee, right? Monetary Policy Committee. They take the decisions. It's not the central bank governor. In our country, till very recently, it was like central bank governor took the decision about interest rates. But now there is an operational independence. Like they form a group, like they vote. Voting process is there, and it's like members, and then our RBI governor is one among them in the MPC. It's not the RBI governor exclusively takes decisions. So you can read the minutes, MPC minutes. That's a wonderful document. And repo rates will be the first thing they will be discussing with. The second is the reverse repo rate. That's a rate in which, the commercial banks can keep money in RBI. Okay, that's a reverse repo rate. So they did little bit of nudging. Nudging means you're basically, inducing a person to do certain things, behavioral. So what did it nudge? They changed the interest rates in such a manner that it will not give much incentive for the commercial banks to keep the money back in the RBI, because that money is like 100% safe and liquid. They don't have to deal, much uncertainty in that. But instead of doing that, you lent more, to the people, to the housing sector, to the personal loans, to the different industrial sectors. So the credit deployment you can do. And if you see that in spite of all this nudging, the commercial banks prefer to keep their money back in RBI. There's a kind of huge money now back in RBI. And liquidity infusion was a technique adopted by the RBI to deal with the pandemic, because the economy is crunched. So we need to activate the economy through liquidity infusion, means giving money to the people. That's liquidity. Liquid cash means you can talk in like economists among each other, guys. You tell that I don't have any liquid cash, means your money may be with your bank or something, but I don't have anything in my wallet. So that's liquid. So liquidity is very important because you have to deal with the day-to-day things with liquid cash. You may have a net worth of, you may be a very rich individual, but liquidity is important, right? So in order to infuse the liquidity, there were a lot of schemes announced by the RBI, especially for the medium and small scale industries and all. But it worked, and because recently I was looking at the numbers, but the credit deployment, it's not showing much upturn. It was like a mixed story about the credit deployment and its impact on the economy to revive. So when monetary policy as a policy tool is ineffective in triggering the economy, or as a counter-cyclical policy, like when the economy is in recession, using the interest rate, you are trying to revive the economy. If that is not happening, then what is the alternative powerful policy tool you have? That's a fiscal policy. And Sadia's question is related to the fiscal policy. Look, the monetary policy beyond a point is not working. And in our country, interest rate is not negative. If you look at Christine Lagarde, who is in ECB, European Central Bank, if you look at the Fed Reserve in US, and if you look at Bank of Japan, many of the central banks, what's happening there? That is a zero bound interest rate. Interest rate is zero. Or in some cases, it is even negative. What does it mean? You have some money, you're putting the money in the bank. If your interest rates up, or otherwise your parents' pension funds, grandparents' pension funds, if they are deciding that, okay, I will put this money into the bond market, it fluctuates, right? And if the interest rate turned negative, means your grandmother or grandparents, whatever money they earned in their life, and they put that pension into the bond market, and they are not getting even what they have put. That is negative interest rate. So there are many issues. Zero bound means, the technical term is, you are in a liquidity trap, because that doesn't work. You're getting the point. It's so simple. It's a liquidity trap. And you can also, like economists, you can start speaking whether you are in a liquidity trap. You don't have any liquid money. It's very interesting, actually. In the day-to-day life, you can talk like economists and look at that Sadia's question. It's not revenue certainty. If based on the revenue certainty, if you want to plan your pandemic package, how to respond to the economy which is in downturn, then you won't be able to plan the expenditure the way you wanted to plan, because your revenue uncertainty, you think that no, we will do it in continuum. That's what is happening in the Ministry of Finance now. They announced 3 pandemic packages. It was like, initially they announced that 10% of GDP, we announced certain programs for the pandemic, but when we really worked it out, it was not a huge package. It was just around 1% of GDP. Then they announced the second package related to the festival season. Then the third package they recently announced. So in all these pandemic package, the problem is, as it is episodic, as it is on a continuous basis, one question among many economists is, like what Sadia asked, these are the times in which we need to, play with our deficit debt dynamics. If we think that, if the public economics, I already mentioned that there are different schools of thought. So one group of economists who are fiscal conservatives. Conservatism means they will not use the deficit beyond a level. They're fiscal hawks. Other kind of a group of economists, they think that, we are not hawks. Fiscal hawkism is not good when the economy is in a downturn. We cannot be so conservative. We need to spend. Let there be deficit. So that's another group of people. And Sadia's question is related to that. Can we do that? What's the role of fiscal economics in this when the monetary policy is ineffective beyond a point of time? So if your ultimate objective is whatever it takes to design the pandemic and take the economy back to the level, whatever it takes, see the narrative, then your financing matters, right? But in our country, there is a rule that deficit, it should not be above 3% of your GDP. So if that is the case, if you are not getting revenues, then what will you do? You compress your expenditure, right? So that's going to be a major problem. And states are innovating different styles in which they can have their revenue. And recently, I have not gone into the details of the issue related to the masala bond. But this masala bond was floated based on that. Like, what could be the innovative source of revenue to finance the capital spending? Because a story is like this: there is a revenue uncertainty. We have revenue and expenditure, right? In the expenditure, we have committed expenditure, we have infrastructure related capital expenditure, like our story I mentioned to you about the chocolates and the pen and the capital, right? So chocolates means salaries and wages, many things in pensions, all these things are very committed. A state cannot say, no, I will not give you salary or pensions. You go, we cannot say these are committed. So with the given money, the government is spending on the committed spending, committed expenditure. So what is left for the capital or the infrastructure was getting reduced. Then states started exploring what could be the different sources of revenue to finance capital. So in Telangana, what they have done is that they have borrowed many things, but very clever. After 40 years only, they have to repay. See, refinancing risk is less, right? They have to pay only after 40 years. So they can use this money at 40 years because it's very much important for the economic growth of that state. And what Kerala has done, Kerala tried masala bonds. I don't know the details, but whatever I know is this is a rupee denominated bond. Like in China, they call it as dim sum bond. Dim sum, it's a core word to Chinese, right? I don't know, you have eaten the dim sum. Dim sum bond, masala bonds, these are all rupee denominated or that local currency denominated bonds in which you float things. And at the center level and the state level, you need to take the decision whether you can go directly to an international market and float bonds and finance your infrastructure spending. That, as per the constitution and as per the permission of the RBI, you have some procedures. So you have to see that constitutional permission and you have to seek the RBI permission. So once that is done, the state can float, the masala bonds. So these are the new kinds of foreign capital related financing of public spending. So the question is, the moral dilemma here is whether we should finance our things from the internal bond market or whether we can go for the external market. This is a question. In this question, if you are internally doing the borrowing, then many kinds of that macroeconomic uncertainty will not happen. Like for example, I'll tell you what exactly is hot money. Your teachers will teach you. Hot money means in our foreign exchange reserve, a component of money which comes to our country is just because our interest rate was higher. Like you as a person also invest your money where there is interest rate high, because you get more money back. So that is hot money. Hot money is a money which reflects or which behaves to the interest rate differences. So if suppose tomorrow USA increases their interest rate, this hot money will be flighty, it goes back. So there are a lot of kind of capital flight, a lot of things, uncertainties are related to the external or the foreign capital. So in our country, what has happened is in the external front, from this foreign portfolio investment, we say that is a hot money. There is a shift to foreign direct investment. What is foreign direct investment? We allow the multinationals to come and be partner with our industries with a cap, like you have 51% ownership or something like that. You read those reports, the cap, defense, aviation, different sectors have different caps. Like if you are Apurva has a company here, I will come from abroad and I will collaborate with Apurva. Apurva will give me that flexibility up to 51%, that cap collaboration. That is FDI, multinational company collaboration. Otherwise, if Apurva has some money, it's not at the individual level, but I'm telling at the broad level. If she has some money, she invests here because interest rate is high. The moment she finds that the interest is good in USA, she take her money there, over there. That's a hot money. So all these uncertainties are there with the external sector. That's why the Sadia's question, how you finance your deficit. You finance it through internally or externally, where you can find the money from. That's an important question. And within our country, what we are doing is we are doing a bond financing of our deficit. But you can also print money and finance your deficit. And in our parents' generation, that time, India was doing that, printing money and financing deficit. But later, as you must have guessed by this time, what is the macroeconomic consequence of printing money and financing deficit? Inflation, right? So to prevent inflation over the years, we stopped it through an agreement between Government of India and RBI that we will not do seigniorage financing. Seigniorage means print. We will do something else because it's creating inflation in the country. So we stopped that thing. But now, in the times of pandemic, many countries, they're thinking, exploring the possibilities of internal versus external financing of our deficit. Okay, like you have a deficit, you would like to take money from your friend, or you would like to take money from someone outside. So that decision, outside means it comes with some conditionalities, it comes with some uncertainties. There are a lot of issues related to the capital flight, many things. But internally, with the fear of inflation, we are not doing that. But there is a group of economists, they believe that you can go for seigniorage financing. Seigniorage means printing money and financing the deficit. Seigniorage. Okay, but RBI has not taken any decision regarding that. Our North Block is also not upcoming in that way for a seigniorage financing of deficit yet, but we are open because in the time of revenue uncertainty, what are the other kinds of ways in which we can finance the deficit? Of course, it's through the borrowing. So what could be the borrowing? Whether it is to print money, whether we go abroad and take the money, or we go for bond financing of markets. These are the different ways in which we can do that. And for Sadia, I didn't give a definite answer that what could be the thing, because I thought that I will give you the different sources of financing, and as students of economics, you can debate which mode of financing is better: rupee denominator masala bonds, or taking money STRs from IMF, or printing money and finance your deficit, or you go and explore from your home bond markets. All these things, as students of economics, you think about it. But one thing is certain: whatever you do, there is a macroeconomic consequence. Like if you print your money and finance a deficit, you need to be bothered about inflation. If you go abroad, then capital flight, all these things, and exchange rate fluctuations, many things, interest rate differentials, that 11%, which is right now in the news. We have to follow up the news and what CAG has spoken about the masala bonds. You now start reading, as they have given you the background, you will be able to understand better. What has CAG spoken about the interest rate? What exactly is that? You start reading and you will be able to do informed debate. Rather than getting into the political side, you understand the public economics of it, okay? And now you start follow up all the things from as a public economics student, as an economic student, not get into the political thing, because that thing we won't be able to handle. That's a different vocabulary altogether, but get into the economic side of rupee denominated bonds, whether it is dim sum or whether it is masala or whatever it is. There are different ways in which you can finance your deficit to the external. And that's it, Sadia. I will not take a position that what could be a best way of financing the deficit. Rather, I give you different ways in which you can finance your deficit. And I would love to hear from students that if you are a finance minister, what you would have taken, what decision you would have taken to finance your deficit, because you cannot do an expenditure compression because it affects your infrastructure investment, it affects your capital formation, education, health expenditure, and revenue is uncertain because GST is a new experiment we floated. And in the time of pandemic, there are a lot of constraints in the way in which you get your tax revenue. So what could have been, what will be that debt deficit dynamics you would have taken if you are a finance minister? Each student can think about it. It's a beautiful exercise, and you can debate among yourselves, a very healthy debate, and disagree respectfully, because there can be a lot of disagreements because the macroeconomic consequence related to each of things is different. So you can disagree respectfully and engage in a debate. And that's it. That's it. Sadia.
Thank you, ma'am. And it is really inspiring to learn more things. And I came with a lot of terms to look about it. It's really inspiring. Thank you, ma'am.
Sadia, this was clear, no? The deficit, or it was tough? The way I explained, it was okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
It was clear, no?
Yes, ma'am. It was okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lekha? Actually, we had planned a 1 hour session and you have been talking for 2 hours.
Wonderful. Oh, we already reached 8 o'clock. Okay, okay.
I'm waiting for you. So we should respect Adu, no? Aditya?
Yeah, he's a big boy. Yeah, he's studying. Yes.
So shall we stop here?
Yeah, definitely. I just saw a question in the chat box for me. What was the most exciting part of your topic or something? I will answer that question because I don't want to disappoint her. And then we call it a day. Yeah. But I didn't understand her question actually. Can you repeat that? That's the only question I thought that I didn't answer.
The question is, what do you like most about the subject? What makes it different from other subjects? What makes economics different from other subjects?
Oh, yeah, because that's a business of life. I already mentioned you, right? It's a business of life, and that's a space in which you stand and try to connect to the other aspects of your life from a philosophical and from a psychological and from a very utilitarian perspective. That's number one. Two, it helps you to analyze and understand better your social and economic policies. That third is that's your passion. Yes. I stop there. It's just passion. Yes. Thank you.
Any other question? So we teachers are really happy to see how our children made use of this opportunity. And actually, this induction program was not to welcome our students, but to make them believe that they can take charge of their life, and not only in Government College for Women as students of economics, but also in the very charming and promising expanse of our subject. And I really appreciate all the coordinators. And you had the best resource person anyone would wish to have. And we teachers are sure that this was the beginning that we wanted to make, or we wanted to happen for you. And you heard from an economist whose life journey itself is a beautiful, inspiring lesson. And thank you so much, Lekha. In fact, no words to thank you. And you know, dear children, Lekha had always her eyes on the stars, but her feet firmly on the ground. And that is special about her. And she has always been rooted, but she has always been flowing. And Lekha, nothing is left untouched or unsaid right from 6 p.m.
Thank you.
You really inspired our children to see a possible future and believe that it can be obtained. And really an inspiring session. And this definitely this will push them to the right directions. And you never make an attempt to make anyone more like you, but you always help others to become more of who they already are. And that is another thing about you. And I'm really grateful to you for remembering the very simple moments in your life with me. So those were the moments when I started learning from you. So thank you very much. And what you have written here on this online platform and on the minds of our children these can never be erased. And thank you so much for being here, and wish you endless happiness by being what you are, Lekha. And shall we close it here? I
Thank
think
you
it's
so
time
much, Amachichi. Thank you so much.
for vote of thanks, a formal token of gratitude.
I call upon Dhanashree for the vote of thanks.
Success begins from when we find the correct path. Good evening, one and all present here. Respected Chief Guest of the day, Dr. Lekha Chakraborty ma'am, our HOD Uma ma'am, teachers, and my dear friends. I feel honored to propose a vote of thanks on this auspicious moment. First and foremost, I would like to thank our chief guest, Lekha ma'am, for spending her valuable time with us and for spending her memories with us and also having a great interaction. Next, I wanted to thank our HOD Umajodi ma'am and all the teachers for giving a best session for us. Last but definitely not the least, a special thanks to all my friends for your active participation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lekha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the space. Thank you, Gigi.
നല്ല 2 hours പകല് നല്ല വർക്ക് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നല്ലേ?
Yeah, it was a busy day. Yeah.
ഓക്കെ, ഇനി സാധ്യത ചോദിച്ച ചോദ്യത്തിനൊക്കെ ഉള്ള ഉത്തരം നമുക്ക് എപ്പോഴെങ്കിലും സമയം അനുവദിക്കുമ്പോ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു സെഷൻ ചെയ്യാം, അത് മാത്രമായിട്ട്.
Oh, yeah, that's an important question. I think she will follow it up. Yeah.
അവരുടെ ഈ തിരക്കൊക്കെ കഴിയുമ്പം അവര് തന്നെ അത് ഓർഗനൈസ് ചെയ്തോളും.
Yes, Gigi. That's a very important question she raised. We have to follow it up. Yeah, she will. Yeah. Thank you, children. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Gigi.
so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable time with us, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Once again,
ma'am.
I'm thanking everyone.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm thanking